Madison, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
It's our pleasure. So let's just jump right into this. Would you please introduce yourself to our audience and yourself and your company?
Yeah, so I'm Madison Bennett. I'm the Associate Director of Certifications over at Cushman Wakefield, serving on the North America Sustainability team. And for those that don't know who Cushman Wakefield is, we're a global real estate services firm with a wide-reaching presence in property management and the advisory space. We manage over 4,000 properties worldwide in over 60 countries, and with over 52,000 employees. So we're a really big organization and really happy to be having this conversation with you today.
So it sounds like not only you know something about certifications, but I bet all of those buildings need a little bit of cleaning.
Oh, absolutely. Could you imagine what we do without you all? Yeah,
Thank
no
you. Thank you. Appreciate you saying that.
way.
So why does C&W care about sustainability?
So Cushman Wakefield aligns with the mission, and as I quote, we will never settle for the world that's been built, but will relentlessly drive it forward. So we are driven internally to solve complex problems for real estate owners and occupiers. And such of that is including the effects of climate change. So we do this by our ability to integrate our sustainability services. Um, with those strategies and executing different strategies for the asset classes by offering advisory services, sustainable operations, including green building certifications, net zero road mapping, climate risk, and resilient impact assessments and reporting and disclosures. So,
So so to follow up on that, can you expand a little bit more about certification related issues, what you think is important? You deal with, and again, we're a cleaning industry audience. So these are the service providers that you work with. So let us know what's important to you so we're better prepared to serve your needs.
yeah, absolutely. I think that one big focus, I mean, obviously coming off of the pandemic, there's always been a hot topic on indoor environmental quality. But I think that's even more present and important ever than today. I'm actually based in Southern California, so we're all very aware of the fires that have been impacting. So we really look at certifications that value indoor air quality, and a lot of that does come from the cleaning chemicals and products that are put into those buildings. So um, again, like indoor air quality, it's not just something that should be done. Obviously, it's something that's required now, especially with in regards to those policies. So we look at indoor air quality policies, sustainable procurement and green cleaning policies, and some of those are prioritized in different certification bodies like LEED, BREEAM, WELL, Fitwell. So again, we really rely on vendors and contractors that are emphasizing that importance in their day-to-day operations as well. So if you don't implement green cleaning as a standard practice, then there's a high likely that we won't be able to utilize that contractor or service provider, especially if they're pursuing these green building certifications. So,
Yeah, it seems like doing green cleaning and those kind of things is sort of the ticket to the dance. Right?
yeah.
Right, you don't get in the door without knowing something about it.
Absolutely. And I mentioned, the obviously the fires that have been impacting. I think one of the things we've really seen coming out of that is the everlasting effects of the products that were put into the buildings, right? A lot of people are trying to go back to their homes right now or buildings, whether that's an office building or multifamily residential. And they're like, hey, stay away. Like you don't know what's in the air right now, right? People are in hazmat suits and so people are now like, okay, well, why did people not care about what was being put in the building before? So I think that conversation is going to be more important than ever about those products that are being utilized, and that does include cleaning products, because obviously people don't want to be sick, but this is going to be an important conversation for decades to come because these materials that are being emitted are not going away anytime soon. So
Well, I think we're getting smarter. Right. We're starting to understand the unintended consequences of our actions.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that it's not just us, and it's everyone is saying that now. And like obviously you and I really care and understand this, but those people that might not have been so aware of why green cleaning, not just because they care about sustainability or impacting the planet, but it really impacts yourself as well. So I think people are really going to start to see that hit home and start to ask questions about what's being done.
And I would assume that it would be valuable for your vendors, for cleaning companies or landscapers or window washers or whoever they happen to be experts, to be knowledgeable about their categories, what they do, so that they can actually come to you and provide you with information, you with support, because they should be the experts. Would that be helpful? Would that be a good business strategy for these folks?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, really, it comes down to everyone being experts in their own space. So I really rely on bringing those people into the conversation. So if we're trying to implement a lead program, and I will say a lot of the buildings we work with are existing buildings. So they might not have already come with the lead label and already have implemented. So they're making drastic changes to themselves to implement these things. So we really value stakeholder collaboration, bringing in the vendors, saying, hey, these people really know the answers and why, and not just, we don't want to just tell you, like, oh, go buy green cleaning, green seal certified products. They're going to be like, why? We're like, well, great question. Let's bring in the vendor because they're really the experts. So we rely on the other stakeholders to really drive that conversation forward and have a bigger impact than just me telling them what to do would be. So
So now I'm going to ask you to tell us what to do. You ready? So share some thoughts, especially for companies that are just getting started on this journey. What would you recommend to help them? Because the last thing I want to have happen is for sustainability to become a barrier, especially to small and medium-sized companies. So, any thoughts about how small companies just getting started should start?
yeah, I mean, great question. I think first and foremost, if they have time and opportunity to look through the standards, especially like LEED or BREEAM or WELL, because WELL is a very stringent standard. So if they can even familiarize themselves with those minimum requirements as it relates, especially to the policies. So a lot of those policies I mentioned, green cleaning, that's a minimum requirement for LEED. So to even get in the door, they have to make sure they can meet that. So that's one step for sure is looking at the policies. Another great tool that's more recent, not sure if people are aware, is the Works with Well program through IWI. And that is really a review of products that people could submit their products, and they will say, hey, yes, that would work with one of our strategies. And well really focuses on the importance of optimal indoor air quality and environmental quality for the occupants itself. So if people want to even get that like secondhand review to say, hey, like I am working with buildings that are pursuing green certifications, but I don't know what to provide to them, like see if your product can even be accepted through that Works with Well program. So it's not necessarily a label or certification, but it's that review. So I think that's a really great tool that's out there. But again, looking at the policy requirements, because even now, LEED is a standard in a lot of these green or cleaning scopes that we're seeing with buildings. So they will just straight up take the language from LEED policy and put it in their cleaning scope and say, this is what it is. So if you don't know what that is, then I would look at it. And last thing I'll say is have conversations like people like myself, people that work in consulting or certifications, we're really all in it together for the same, you know, we're all have the same mindset. We're looking to shape a greener future. And so, one of the great things I love about this industry is people are willing to chat and have those conversations and help each other because we really want the same end goal. And so, I would say, don't be afraid, don't be shy. talk to those, talk to those, certifications experts. I'd call ourselves and see where we can help you get there too.
Certainly, ISSA is trying to provide those kind of resources and tools for its members. But one of the things I think is interesting in Lead version 5 is new requirements on social equity. And do you have any thoughts about that? We're now going beyond just the products, the chemicals, the toilet paper, paper towels, the plastic liners, the vacuum cleaners, to really start thinking more about the people themselves, right? So, do you have any thoughts about what information or how companies might prepare for addressing those kind of reporting requirements or information requirements for people like yourself?
Yeah, I think really because a lot of the people we work with are really the end user. So let's say if I'm working on a project, I'm going to probably go to the rep of that company. So I would say that that person internally needs it to make it their own mission to go internally to their company and start having the conversations of what are we doing about our products, where are they coming from, do we have policies in place, and anti-slavery, all that, to make sure that we're meeting these requirements because it's really going to come that top-down approach from for that to even happen. Unfortunately, I don't think that the person we usually directly work with can have that final say of implementing that policy or change to be able to pursue Lead V5. And that's going to take a while. These conversations aren't going to happen overnight. These changes aren't going to happen overnight. Hopefully, things are already being in place and in motion to happen, but really, again, asking those internal questions, taking that personal responsibility to say, like, what can I do within my organization, and who can I talk to about this, and make sure that they're aware as well.
Well, thank you. So, any other thoughts or issues that we haven't covered that you'd like to share with us?
I would just say, there's an evolving landscape, of things that are coming with sustainability. And I really think and I just mentioned having those conversations. It's really more important now than ever to have these uncomfortable conversations and continue to push progress forward. Um, Again, it's not going to happen overnight, and stopping our progress won't happen either. There's a lot of us that really generally care and want it. And so we'll continue to, push and have that and make that change happen. But I think if people stop now, they'll really just be behind in years to come. And so we'll just continue to have these discussions. I encourage everybody else to continue to have these discussions with peers, with and question, what's happening, why, ask questions about Lead V5 as it really does roll out. And, I think one of the big things that people don't really often realize too is that a lot of these businesses, especially like clients that we work with, they're investors that are pushing this progress forward. And these investors are not always US based, they might be international. So even whatever happens here, it's still going to continue to be a driving factor of our sustainability results and success. So don't stop, just keep going and have those conversations.
So, Madison, thank you very much for your time. I agree. Let's not stop. As a matter of fact, I think we're just getting started. So, thank you so much for your time. You're greatly appreciated.
Thank you so much for having me.